A lot of Chinese, when they look at you, and even if you say I'm gay, people will vote for you because the values, the things you talk about. But they disagree with the people in gay parade. They always say, why do you have to be openly so express yourself so sexually? Yeah. So what do you think about that? You think, does that do damage to the image of gay and lesbians?
Well, when I go into, sometimes I go in gay pride parades, and I dress in very non-controversial ways, but it's a cultural thing that you know, it's a difference in a cultural norm or approach, and I think we have to. It's not a. You don't have to understand or appreciate something to accept that people have their rights to do that. And I think that in some ways gay and lesbians were suppressed for such a long time that in fact there's, and in many cases, people who grew during their teen years could not express themselves at all and were suppressed and had very sad lives. So I think in some ways what happens on Gay Pride is a release of all that, and sometimes maybe that it goes a little far. But I would say that it's a celebration though of rights and freedoms. And sometimes when I see one of the floats that go by, I actually look down myself a little bit. I'm not. It's sometimes not. It's sometimes not consistent with what I'm used to seeing in Cheverry, where I live in rural Nova Scotia. But at the same time, I really think it's important to recognize that it is a celebration of rights. It is, and they may, you know, some members of the gay community may express themselves differently than I do in a gay pride parade, but I would defend their right to do that. Because
lots of parents say they don't want their kids to watch it first. And secondly, the official name now becomes gay, lesbian, transsexual, and bisexual. And it's, to most parents, it's too sexual.
Yeah. Well, culture is becoming too sexual. I think that if you look at what's on TV, mainstream TV, all the time today, it is, you know, I can tell you as somebody, my partner and I, you know, at someday plan on adopting children. I don't want them watching a lot of the shows that are on TV, because I think that for children, I think a lot of these things are too sexual, and I think that in fact there's you have to allow them time to be children. I think if anything, children today and teenagers are almost growing up too quickly in that sense. So I sound a little old-fashioned, but as a parent, I might just be a little old-fashioned when it comes to some of those things. But I think television in general, and I think pop culture in general, I think music in general, has become too sexualized. I think that's...
Why don't our politicians do more about that? Like you forget your gay background and say something about it.
Well, I've never actually been asked the question before you asked me the question, because most of my areas of interest are on economic issues. But I think I just did answer the question that in fact it concerns me. I really believe that young people growing up and adolescents are almost forced to grow up too quickly. It's a confusing time, and I think that there's I think a lot of the popular media, popular music, popular television is too sexualized.
I think if the Liberal Party would like to stand up and say more things up on this subject, you will get more votes from Chinese community.
Well, I expressed my view. I haven't. I don't know what the view of the Liberal Party is on that, but that's just my view as a person, not really as a politician.
Now I'd like to go back to politics. You have run for leaders in two political parties when you were 36 and 39. Can you say that you are ambitious?
Which is, most people would say is probably an understatement. But I, you know, was under 40, both cases, in fact. But one thing I have learned is that sometimes you've got to walk before you can run. And I've matured somewhat in recognizing that there's a lot I have to learn and want to learn. And I have, but in every case, even starting the business at 19, even as a kid, I was always pushing to move forward.
You're only 42.
Yes.
Am I looking at a future Prime Minister?
Well, I don't know. I want to serve Canadians, and I can serve Canadians as a member of Parliament. I can serve Canadians in a number of ways. I'm not going to be in politics forever, so while I'm in politics, I want to make a real difference. And I've been able to make a difference as a member of Parliament. I've been able to make a difference when I was a cabinet minister. As a cabinet minister, I was able to, as public works minister, we changed the Department of Public Works and we modernized the business approaches of public works to save over $3 billion over a 5-year period and $1 billion every year after that. So I'm proud of those kinds of positive changes I've been able to make in people's lives. And I just want to keep on making a difference and serving the public.